Denis Sassou Nguesso briefs Paul Biya on why Congo has opted to terminate the contract with Congo Iron in a joint iron ore exploration venture, and the missive was delivered at the Unity Palace today by Congolese special envoy. The spectre of crisis looms low on health care delivery in Cameroon as the number of specialized doctors drops in a harrowing short supply as brain drain deprives the health sector of its qualified human resource. And the spectre of dissolution looming over the Elite One Football Championship in Cameroon as the championship slumps into a profound coma with no signs of resuscitation anytime soon. Those are our lead stories. Hello and thanks for joining us. I am Ben Menopufong and this is the 7:30 News.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Good evening once again. There was a guest at the Unity Palace today. Pierre Oba, Congolese Minister of State for Mining, Industries and Geology, was bearer of a sealed message from President Denis Sassou Nguesso to his Cameroonian counterpart, Paul Biya. The Congolese envoy and President Biya reviewed other issues of bilateral concern, especially the joint iron ore exploitation venture on the Cameroon-Congo border. Chief Unity Palace correspondent Ashu Nyenti reports.
Cameroon and Congo-Brazzaville are not only two neighbors whose heads of state, Paul Biya and Denis Sassou Nguesso, entertain fraternal relations as eminent members of the CEMAC community. But over the last 10 years, both countries have also been involved in a joint venture of iron ore exploitation across their common borders. It is in this context that the Congolese president has dispatched this special envoy to Yaoundé, received upon arrival at the Unity Palace by the stand-in protocol official Simplice Atanga and the minister, director of the civil cabinet Samuel Mbondo Ayolo, before he gets to meet the head of state.
Monsieur Pierre Oba, ministre d'État, ministre des Industries minières et de la Géologie du Congo, envoyé spécial.
The exploitation of this resource has met with some difficulties on the Congolese side. The country has decided to rescind its contract with the Australian company that holds concessions in both countries. That is why the envoy, Pierre Oba, also Congolese Minister of State for Mining, Industries and Geology, is here to brief Paul Biya on why his country took that decision. President Paul Biya, who is very keen on national economic interest, has shown some understanding to the Congolese position. He gave me a number of directives, many instructions to enable this project to succeed for the interest of both countries. The envoy departs from Yaoundé with the conviction of a convergence of views on this matter by the two economic partners.
And we stay in the subsoil exploration sector to announce that 7 persons have been buried in a mine in Kambele, Baturi subdivision of the East region of Cameroon. This followed Saturday night's heavy downpour that caused a landslide in the area. It is the second incident of its kind after that of last week, which, as Tala LT reports, was equally devastating.
This is a typical example of the numerous landslides that claim lives on a regular basis in the locality of Kambele. This mad rush for gold is the cause of the numerous deaths here, and the villagers only have their eyes to cry. The 7 miners who are reported to have perished in Saturday's disaster are said to be foreigners who don't master the risk of the business. They are reported to have sneaked into the mining pit at night to collect pieces of earth which they will in turn wash and have gold. Death is not the only harmful effect of this gold rush. The environment has been damaged, children have abandoned classrooms, and child labor is on the rise in Kambeli. The mayor of Baturi says he has little control over this domain, which locals say is shrouded in mafia and sublime mysticism.
Those deaths are due to the fact that many youths go there. It's not only the youth, many people coming from everywhere are going there by night to steal the materials, to steal the products, looking for the gold. They must be very careful because it's a dangerous area that must be secure, and it's not comfortable for them to go there without any protection, without any guide.
The foreigners who operate these mines, which are at the origin of this catastrophe, say they have military men who are supposed to protect these mines at night.
The big package for this edition dwells on this shortage of specialists in Cameroon, and the corona pandemic has unveiled lapses in an already fragile health system, as hospitals in Cameroon are currently hit by an acute shortage in health specialists in a context where the doctor-patient ratio is already below required levels. Reports say the country now affords less than half of the over 2,000 health specialists it needs to boost its healthcare delivery. Beatrice Law Samba took interest in this deficit in health specialists in the country, which, as she says, results in poor health outcomes.
With just slightly above 1 health personnel attending to 1,000 patients, the health workforce situation in the country was said to be preoccupying already. To worsen an already bad situation, 910 health specialists currently exist in the country's hospitals, being less than half of the 2,026 specialists needed for good outcomes.
The Faculty of Medicine of the University of Yaoundé 1 could not train the specialists so that we can cover all the needs. Some of our specialists who are training abroad will not like to come back. The double appartenance to the university and the Ministry of Public Health.
Health specialists are in short supply, and the effect is felt in hospitals which have to refer cases elsewhere, sometimes even out of the country.
A domain like reconstructive surgery, which is very important when you have accident. We have problem in oncology, surgery, qualified in organ transplantation.
Due to this shortage, only regional hospitals can afford specialists sometimes, and the specificities of regions also count in dispatching them.
Where we have the crisis, we need surgeon and traumatologists. We just received some specialists from the universities. The priorities would be the northern regions, the region in crisis, and the east region.
Government is exploring ways of reinforcing its capacity as health becomes its #1 priority.
And the shortage of medical specialists in Cameroon is felt most in public hospitals, especially those in rural areas. Reason why experts are suggesting that to reverse the trend, there is need not only for a multiplication of specialized training centers across the country, but also to align training to ongoing technical and technological mutations in practice. Cynthia Saptala reports on some of the training exigencies of modern-day health specialists.
It may be the perfect solution to the current problem of the shortage of medical specialists, that is, train more and more health personnel in different specialties when needed. However, according to experts, the real issue isn't just providing training. To solve the problem, some have suggested that the state can look into obtaining qualified trainers first and improving on existing technical platforms available in hospitals so as to help perfect their specialty during residency. While official sources at the National Order of Medical Doctors agree, they are also of the opinion that increasing the current number of medical institutions training specialists may improve on the situation.
We have proposed that the state do a better evaluation of the current situation and then decentralize the training of specialists to universities such as the University of Douala, Buea, and it is important to have hospitals equipped to receive them for their training.
The Faculty of Medicine and Biomedical Sciences in Yaoundé is the only institution currently training specialists. Last year, for instance, 15 gynecologists were trained. However, most of such graduates prefer to migrate to greener fields.
And while the shortage of specialized doctors continues, other medics are, however, saying that relaxation techniques such as yoga, meditation, and deep breathing could be a possible remedy to the burnout syndrome currently affecting Cameroonians, a state of mental and physical exhaustion which can zap the joy out of one's career. Gerald Nanji Eyambe spoke to a physicist and reports that burnout is one of the most common mental disorders affecting children and adults in the country.
Excessive and prolonged stress, feeling drained, watch out. You might just be experiencing a burnout.
It's a mental problem, and it's due to work. It's sometimes difficult to conciliate family life and professional life.
The mental health problem is mostly attributed to work pressure.
Tiredness is the major symptoms. You can also have somebody who have problem to sleep and also pain in the body.
Medics recommend some tips to deal with burnout.
It's very important to identify what makes you feel pleasure. It can be sport, it can be music, it can be dance. To have hour of work and hour for rest, to have good relationship in your professional life.
If, however, not well handled, burnout may reduce productivity, a reason why relaxation is essential.
Away from health, let's now talk finance and economy. Cameroon is set to enter a new IMF-supported program under the Extended Credit Facility and the Extended Fund Facility following meetings between finance officials and the IMF mission led by Amadou Sy. The agreement was reached after a positive review of Cameroon's COVID-19 response plan and the efforts made to stimulate economic activity in the midst of the pandemic. Crise Areta reports on the cornerstones of this report.
The IMF-supported program is grounded on Cameroon's development roadmap for the next 10 years, the SND 30. Focus will be on efforts made to promote good governance, transparency, and the fight against corruption. These, in turn, will have 4 pillars to build on. They include mitigating the consequences of COVID-19, accelerating fiscal reforms, and strengthening debt sustainability. An assessment of the country's high risk of debt distress by the institution is looking at the need to limit non-concessional borrowing and enforce public debt management. These remain crucial. Loans with more generous interest rates and longer grace periods will be granted only for essential development projects for which concessional financing is unavailable. Interest will also be in stimulating private sector investment by making the business climate more competitive, but equally addressing risks associated with state-run entities. Strategies put in place to manage the pandemic and keep economic activity going were acknowledged. This is the basis on which the staff-level agreement was reached for a new program under the Extended Credit Facility and Extended Fund Facility. Post-COVID-19 recovery, macroeconomic robustness, and an ambitious structural reform agenda were scrutinized according to the statement issued by the IMF mission to Cameroon.
Counter-terrorism experts in the Lake Chad Basin Commission are poised to harmonize national disarmament efforts for better results. The commitment was taken today in Yaoundé at the second regional brainstorming event on disarmament, demobilization, reintegration and reconciliation in the Lake Chad area. Attended amongst others dignitaries by the chairman of the Bilingualism Commission, Peter Mafani Musonge. The workshop, which took place at the Ministry of External Relations, was also chaired by External Relations Minister Lejeune Belambela. Charles Ebune reports.
The quality of the attendees at the second regional brainstorming on disengagement, demobilization, reintegration, and reconciliation in the troubles-hit Lake Chad Basin Commission tells the multifaceted nature and the seriousness of the issue at stake. Amongst them, the chairman of the Bilingualism Promotion Commission, Peter Mafani Musonge, in this first public policy action in Cameroon to execute the directives of the latest extraordinary summit of the Lake Chad Basin Commission member states held in Abuja, Nigeria, just a few days ago.
The workshop is coming to cement all the initiatives, all the policies that are on in the whole zone, the CBLT zone, to have the global objective, which is peace.
Their work, the work of experts, will, amongst other things, strengthen the resilience of communities stressed by extremism in the Lake Chad Basin area.
The national effort for the mobilization, disarmament of Boko Haram should remain the objective of our approach and the harmonization of this regional approach.
Today, the hopes for a better life, especially terrorism-free zones, is hung on to the Lake Chad Basin Commission Regional Stabilization Plan.
The Littoral Regional Council will run this year on a budget of 3 billion CFA francs. A bulk of this budget will be devoted to tackle infrastructural problems in the region. Alphonse Abongwa reports on a budgetary session that coincided with the installation of the new Secretary General of the Council.
This is the very first time the Littoral Regional Council meets in ordinary session to deliberate on budgetary issues. Tentatively, 3 billion CFA francs is expected to be voted and adopted to tackle the regional development plan for this year.
We can start by the road, electricity, to supply water, the housing. We have a lot to achieve.
The president in his address said we will undertake a 40-day tour to get to the population of the region and get their expectations so that we work together with them. Part of the budget will be used to acquire office materials, completion of rehabilitation works of the current regional council building, and the construction of the headquarters of the structure. On the sidelines of the ordinary session, the pioneer Secretary General for the Regional Council, appointed last January 25 by President Paul Biya, was installed by the council's president, Mr. Polycarp Banlock. He is aware of the duties that await him in the decentralization drive of the region.
We have to put in place the administration of the council from nothing, as the president said, and the president has given us instructions. He wants this administration to be a very performing one, so we need to get competent people to work in the administration of the council.
Mr. Nokengwese Anthony has over 15 years in public administration.
You're watching the 7:30 news on the Cameroon radio television, the CRTV. We are beaming live from Yaoundé. Some structures in Limbe, including the SDO's office, have been rendered roofless after strong winds from the Atlantic coastline blew across the city. The breeze, which surfaced amidst heavy rains, hewed trees and crops. Southwest Regional Governor Burnout Kalabilai, in a visit to Limbe, has ordered an evaluation of the damages and the relocation of services at the Fako Divisional Office. Larry Efande is in Boya.
The storm roared into the city just before lunchtime Monday, peeling off the roof of the seat of the SDO's office at the bank of the river, down beach Limbe. The roofing beams lay bare as some of the zincs got swallowed into the Atlantic Ocean.
Suddenly, heavy winds passed and the rains was so heavy
that it took off the roofs of the SDO's office, the divisional office in Fako.
The strong wind which surfaced amidst heavy rains healed trees and crops too. Accompanied by the city mayor Andrew Mutanga Mujimba, the Southwest Governor Bernard Okalia Bila instructs that an evaluation be conducted immediately.
We gave instruction to regional delegate in charge of constructions to evaluate the situation. If we can repair the roof, or if it is to go for another building.
As it continues to rain heavily, local farmers here are staging physical resistance to wind disasters on their crops.
We now focus on the Bororo people of the Tukankwe clan and their community life in Madina Tul Kahiwe in the Nun division of the West region. They have stuck to their remaining true to their nomadic tradition of animal breeding, yet introducing their children to modern ways of life. A display of this was in Madina Tul Kahiri this weekend, where Bororos of the clan from all over Africa converged to showcase aspects of that modernity. Che Tembo reports from CRTV West.
Madina Tul Kiri is located some 7 kilometers from Fumban on the road to Banganti, West region. Here, one finds houses that have comically shaped roofs. They belong to Bororo people, a once migratory group turned sedentary, turning their livestock and integrating themselves into the known community.
The main objective is to discourage early marriages and to promote social integration.
To engender greater shifts to modern ways of life, Bororo elites are encouraging schooling through the provision of adequate learning infrastructures. They live at Madina Tul Kairi thanks to the goodwill of the Sultan and King of the Bamun people, who settled about 2,000 of them some 7 months ago.
We plan how to educate the children, the elders, women and men in both Western development and then education of the Islamic aspect.
At the end of the gathering, Al-Haji Bashiru organized contributions for the construction of a mosque.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Vaccination against COVID-19 in Kongsamba, the Kongsamba Regional Hospital, has been running for more than a month already, and the population is slowly but surely showing up for the jabs as the hospital workers continue equally to be encouraging the public to defeat fear and hesitation. Walden Sama is at the vaccination center in the hospital with a medic of the health establishment to assess how the exercise has been unfolding since its launch. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Ben Menopufong, and welcome to the Kongsamba Regional Hospital, where over 1 month when we had a launch for this vaccination exercise against the coronavirus, not only for health personnel but for all inhabitants of Kongsamba here in the Mungo division of the Littoral region of Cameroon. With our guest tonight, Dr. George Mangala, the director of the Kongsamba Regional Hospital. We shall find out from him where we are at this point in time with this ongoing vaccination exercise. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, son.
Explain to us, over 1 month where we had the start of the vaccination exercise in Kongsamba. Where are we so far?
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for this particular opportunity you give to us again. We are so glad to receive you every time that you are coming here. As concerning vaccination, since 1 month, just after you, our administration our minister decide, in a way, the government decide to allow other people to do the vaccination, particularly people with comorbidity and people of more than 50 years. Since that time, things has been moving. At this time, we have more than 100 persons with comorbidity who have been vaccinated in Konsamba, and we are still doing with personnel who are doing vaccination. So far, we are going up to evaluate, to ameliorate our vaccination rate.
Thank you so much, Dr. George Mangala. You are the director of the Konsamba Regional Hospital. The take-home message from here is that they are encouraging inhabitants of Konsamba, not only health personnel, come and have yourself vaccinated. It is free of charge against the coronavirus. Back to you, Ben Menopufong.
Tonight, we honor one of our own, Pierre Binambarga, a.k.a. Bishop, who has served the Cameroon radio television for 31 years and is today going on retirement. The French language reporter of the central desk of the television newsroom started off as a national language broadcaster at CRTV Center. Yoti Kaleli Songa trailed Pierre Binambarga, fondly called Monseigneur, as he bid farewell to his bosses and colleagues. Let's take a listen.
Right to work for CRTV's Pierre Binambarga, who sets foot on the premises for his last day as a reporter. He spent more than half of his 60 years on earth as a state broadcaster.
Starting at CRTV Center, I was producing programs in Langewondo. I created Onkulveti in Monkava. I went to Ebolova, where I created Esamzigi. When the President of the Republic has a message, I was doing the voiceover in Ewondo.
Pierre Binambarga was later recruited as a full-time reporter, a man whose ink never went dry, especially on religious stories.
My first passion was to be a priest. The second passion was to be a journalist. And the third one was to be a teacher.
He has certainly left his mark.
To work from 1 to 60 years. I say only thank you to the Lord Almighty. Yes.
Very pleased to work with you, Mr. Binambarga.
I also.
The reporter of the Science and Society desk at the Central Newsroom is reminiscent about his career with his workmates.
We were at Encore Pablo.
Yeah, remember those early days.
Oh, okay.
The retiring journalist knows exactly what he will be doing after he quits the mic.
I'm going to take my job again.
An aspiration greeted warmly. Pierre Binambarga celebrates 31 years of a fruitful career with great hopes for the future that awaits him.
The journalist who says he will be picking up the chalk again is certainly retired, but not tired. We wish you well. One of the top-ranking banking institutions in Cameroun, la Banque Internationale du Cameroun pour l'Épargne et le Crédit BICEC, has taken a giant step to improve on the living standards of its personnel of the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform, MINFROPRA. A convention between the two was signed today that equally brings together the advanced school, the National School of Administration and Magistracy, ENAM. The convention will equally it was appended in the nation's capital today, rather in the economic capital, as we hear in the following report with Roselyne Foza.
One of Africa's top-notch banking institutions, the Banque Internationale du Cameroun pour l'Épargne et le Crédit BICEC, through its services, is poised to contribute to the well-being of its clients. Such development passes through the improvement of their living conditions, which the banking institution has once again stepped in to upgrade by signing a convention with the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reforms.
We have young men and young ladies who work hard, but the conditions of work are not always good. That's why we try to do everything and every day so that the condition should be better.
The facilities to housing and other social needs taken into account by the convention is also beneficial to staff and students of the National Advanced School of Administration and Magistracy, who sometimes can't cope with the obligations of the institution.
They need to build a house. They need to pay a car, for example. They need to have a good life. The student, because you know that when you just succeed to exam, you don't have money even to buy street or to come in school.
The two conventions between BISEC and Fcfa on one hand and ENAM on the other is an answer to the request of the minister and the director to render life easy for their collaborators.
We had to suggest some of our products that will suit their needs. Today, BISEC is under the first banking group in Morocco, and if the Moroccan Central Bank is what it is today, it is thanks to the population.
Today, BISEC, with branch offices in about 30 countries, is glad of the position it occupies in the continent, thanks to their customers whom they are willing to continue providing answers to their worries.
Let's now talk sports, where some club presidents are already raising stakes, threatening to boycott the National Elite 1 and 2 Championship if the 650 million CFA francs that the state usually gives them are not paid in. The imbroglio is coming at a time when Cameroon is expected to submit its flag bearers for continental football competitions to the Confederation of African Football, CAF, as Romeo Kenya says in the following report, and it is part of our talk of the day tonight, that the deadline for clubs to be affiliated with CAF is fixed for the 30th of June 2021. Romeo?
The current football season in the country started on February 27 with a 5-month delay. Since May 9, 2021, the Elite 1 and 2 championships went on recess. Since then, clubs are yet to resume hostilities on stadia. Tournament organizers Fcfa remain steadfast.
The calendar for the second phase of the championship is available. We are just waiting on teams to tell us they are ready for action.
Cameroon's representatives for next year's continental competitions are expected to be made known latest by June 30, 2021. But some club presidents bank on eminent state financial assistance to return to the green turf.
If we play 3 games a week, if actions resume, we can meet deadlines.
It's a very difficult matter for us to go and play without no money.
But going by the 2018 law, football teams are supposed to function like corporate bodies. However, from 2011 to 2013, the government voluntarily came to the aid of selections.
Some president of clubs want government money to begin to restart the championship. We have a business model based on the multiplication of many financial sources. The first one is sponsorship.
With the prevailing conditions in the country's football fraternity, things could get worse, except hands come on deck to tame the atmosphere.
Still in sports, Bulgarian cyclist Peter Dimitrov has won the 3rd lap of the ongoing international cycling tour of Cameroon. He covered the 98-kilometer distance from Bagante to Kongsamba in 2 hours 35 minutes. CRTV's Baldwin Sama is on the race course.
A swift finish for 3 Bulgarian cyclists led by Peter Dimitrov, confirming the domination of the 3rd lap of the race from start to finish. A few breakaways were noticed as they rode out of Bagante. Descending the hills of Bamena, the breakaway was maintained. As they rode through Bana, the pack was 2 minutes behind. The time difference increased to 3 minutes as the cyclists crossed Kmer. 25 kilometers to Kongsamba, 3 Bulgarian cyclists outsprinted the pack, and together they crossed the finish line.
It was very hard stage. We were 3 teammates and go ahead.
The first Cameroonian cyclist, Clovis Kamzonga Boslo, was 7th as the yellow jersey remains in the keeping of Bulgarian cyclist Andrei Jordan, with Kamzon Clovis Boslo just 2 seconds behind the yellow jersey. This Tuesday, the cyclists will cover 121 kilometers distance from Lum to Limbe for lap 4 of the race.
The 7:30 news on the Cameroon Radio Television, the CRTV. That's where we leave it for tonight. Thanks for watching.